and welcome to the Silent Evil Podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm RJ.
And we're back again for our next episode, and we're going to go deep into Silent Hill number 1. The very first Silent Hill, the one that whenever I think of Silent Hill, this is what always comes to my mind first and foremost. I know some people always hold 2 up as the highest one, but to me, number 1, I don't know, just that's such a special place. And no matter what, you can never take me away from those memories of first finding Silent Hill and being oh dude, let's go through this game and see what happens.
I mean, 2's great. Don't
2 is close, but I would still say out of all the original Silent Hill games, I don't know, number 1 is just something magical.
Dude, just like you when someone talks Silent Hill, the first one I think is the original. And it's
yeah.
I mean, what more can be said about the game, to be honest? I mean, sure, Resident Evil was first, and it's the father of the series, of the genre,
Yeah.
But
well, how about Alone in the Dark? And
well, we'll go there later.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Resident Evil sort of what solidifies,
exactly,
kind of how it is. I mean, it seemed like there's other games that came out before it that kind of tested the waters and kind of had an idea and set in motion. But Resident Evil 1 to me is just such a solid game. Where I feel Alone in the Dark's one of those kind of games where you got to be really into the genre to go back and play that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean we are, because we'll go back and we'll play them at some point. But Resident Evil, they just kind of jumped in with it. Here we are talking about Resident Evil again.
I feel that's going to be everything's going to relate to Resident Evil, no matter what game it is.
But I mean, you can't really talk about the genre without it coming back to Resident Evil in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I mean, regardless, Silent Hill helped launch the genre, to be honest. They just did it in their own way.
Well, it adds that other element, because, if Resident Evil's almost more in the sci-fi kind of realm, Silent Hill adds the fantasy element to it,
yeah,
and the demons and the monsters, and, where Resident Evil's almost, partially realistic, Silent Hill's completely, out there, but that's, that's not saying that's a bad thing, you know what I mean? But
with Resident Evil, they went with the action kind of survival horror scary game, Well,
it's Silent Hill. Evil scientists are out there in the mountains doing God knows what.
Yeah, it's you'll find a shotgun here, you'll find a pistol here, and a magnum there, and you can blow them away.
And you're a special forces police officer.
That's the good thing about Resident Evil, is it's still scary.
Yeah.
Even though, you get all that stuff. But with Silent Hill, they went the more psychological horror route, which, I mean, is terrifying on its own.
It's really terrifying in a different way.
With your head, so.
And then it's it's kind of funny because sometimes people always want to say the thing that Silent Hill doesn't have nearly. It's it's more survival horror than Resident Evil. I'm there is literally just as much action in Silent Hill as there is in Resident Evil. I mean, you're killing things left and right, and you get to kill things with melee weapons.
I was gonna say
you get the knives, and the crowbars, and baseball bats, and all kinds of stuff. And you get if you want, you can unlock the chainsaw or that drill and so on. So I mean, I think that's always kind of a weird kind of comparison because I feel they're pretty much about on par as far as action goes. I think it's kind of, I mean, the difference is that you're playing as one as a police officer. The other one you're playing as a normal guy.
Yeah.
Who happens just to be the normal guy who happens to kill 200 things search for his daughter. Yeah. Where's my daughter?
With Resident Evil, they kind of, it was a little bit more straightforward, obviously, than the Silent Hill one, but, they did that on purpose, obviously. In Silent Hill, they wanted you to interpret on your own what you're seeing and what you're whereas Resident Evil, it's you picked up the bits and pieces along the way and kind of put the story together with what you were finding and stuff like that. But
yeah, Silent Hill's definitely the thinking kind of you kind of add almost your own layer. There's the truth of Silent Hill, and then there's almost the other quarter of it, which is everybody's own interpretation.
Yeah, because with Silent Hill, you're what the hell is happening here? Why is this happening?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's as you kind of go in, you figure out that's okay, well, Harry's going out, he's searching for his daughter, and then I love it's we found a daughter one day, we found a girl on the side of the road, decided to keep her.
Yeah, I know.
You didn't question why you just found just a little girl on the side of the road.
I know, and then, dude, one thing that got me is that I had read that they almost named Harry Humbert.
Because they went for, this is the weird thing, is they went, I saw on a couple things, and it's they went after Lolita, the Stanley Kubrick movie from the 60s, and there's also a remake of it in the 90s with, I think it's the 90s, or whatever, but the Stanley Kubrick version, and now they went with the actor's name on there, and then they were going to call, the daughter Lolita. I'm well, that's freaking just weird now, because the whole point of that movie is that the guy is, kind of weirdly in love with this younger girl and everything like that. So why would you put those two?
I know. So I'm glad they didn't go with that. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, dude. I mean, when people mention Silent Hill, obviously I said I think about the first one. I just always think about that first scene with Harry running into the fog, you know? Yeah. Big old square shoes, you know? Clunky movements, but I mean, you know, at the time it was obviously groundbreaking.
Well, because that's the one thing I will say after the controls. I feel like there's always a comparison to like Resident Evil, and this always sounds weird to some people, but I always feel like Resident Evil plays like flawlessly smooth. I know most people would tell you differently, but like for that genre, like Resident Evil's so dialed in. Where Silent Hill has that kind of clunky feel, and I don't know if it's one of those ones like they were making the game and it wasn't coming all together, and then they just kind of said like well, you're a regular guy, that's why it's clunky. It's like almost like a scapegoat.
I know they went for like the everyman, you know, the everyday person type of guy, you know, to be that, but dude, that is no excuse for how crappy it is to use the controls in that game. They definitely feel clunky.
I mean, you get kind of used to it once you kind of get into it, but there's that initial, whenever you kind of go back to like, see, like I can go back to Resident Evil, and it's like riding a bicycle. You never forget. But Silent Hill is the one where you kind of go back to that one, and sometimes those first couple dogs you're trying to hit that crowbar, and you just end up swinging the wrong direction.
Yeah, no, dude. And,
you're like, God damn it, Harry.
Those dogs are terrifying too. I mean,
and granted, at some point you just get to the point where you're just like, whatever, I'll just run past the dog. So.
Yeah, dude. So it's just like, and I mean, the first time I played the game, I got killed by the first couple I found. So it's just like, I just wasn't used to the controls, obviously, you know, and I was just getting hammered, but...
Well, the thing, too, about Silent Hill is, like, especially in the olden days, like, you know, nowadays, I guess you can always look up a guide or something like that, but, like, with that game back before you really had internet, I mean, internet was there, but, like, it wasn't just, like, easily accessible like it is nowadays. Not everybody had it. Two, sometimes when you were playing video games that didn't have internet, you know, you always had to go to, like, a station or a computer and, like, log on and all that stuff.
Not to mention, I didn't want to ask my parents if I could tie up the phone to look up video game strategy.
Yeah, that was, like, the level it was. Or, like, sometimes it even kind of cost, like, money to use the internet because it kind of had to make a long-distance call. So there was all these like obstacles that went in the way, and if you just didn't have the guide, like I just remember just aimlessly running around in that game like so much, and then you'd finally find like that first note, or I guess to go to the school. I think the school was actually kind of straightforward. It was after the school. I remember that part being like, oh, now I'm just kind of aimlessly running around, you know, and then hopefully you run across some ammo, or hopefully you run across, you know, wherever you need to go next.
I feel like even in the beginning, dude, it was like with the fog and everything, it's kind of like you run up the walls and then you're trying to like kind of like work your way through on when you can get close enough to see stuff, you know, but no, I mean, obviously the fog element is awesome and just has psychological horror of the game.
You know, that thing that's like in all old video games, the fog, and it's like they found a way to use it and make it like feel like it's part of the game. And it's like, oh, cool, and that keeps it like so it really doesn't have to like load nearly as much, and just those like little technical features.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the school too, dude, once you get to the school, then you see the first
the child
things, I guess.
I always just refer to
with like the little knives. I was like, what is this?
That's the cool thing. It's like, come on, like how many games do you get to shoot children in? Just saying.
They killed me too. The first time I encountered them.
Come by and start stabbing you and whatnot.
Dude, and then I like ran into the spot where there were multiple of them, and I went down pretty quick at that point. So I mean, but no, I mean, I like the way Silent Hill, you know, plugs in their story, but you're still the whole time you're just like, what the fuck is happening in this game? Like, I don't know why all this is even really happening.
Yeah, like there's just always like those unplausible moments of like, what is going on?
It's like, yeah, you know, but even when you get to the end of the game, you're like, okay, that's the end. I get it, you know, and I get the story, but I kind of don't, you know. But I mean, like, I don't know. It's cool that they just kind of left it up to imagination.
Yeah, like you can kind of add stuff to it and so on.
Yeah.
This is one thing I found interesting. Like my last Silent Hill marathon about almost a year ago by now, maybe a little bit less than that, when I went through 1 through 4 again. I remember I found this online when I was just looking up stuff on it, that there was a comparison of Kindergarten Cop with the school of Silent Hill. And this is the weirdest thing, is like when you look at the side-by-side screenshots, they're identical schools. Like, they use the same posters that are in Kindergarten Cop. They use, like, the same doorway. The bus is the same bus. It's so weird.
That is really weird.
It's just, like, the most oddest choice ever. It's, like, obviously there was, like, what, like a VHS copy just sitting there in Japan? And, like, you know, we just passed this movie around the office, and we decided we were going to use
this is American, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, it's either that or they went to, like, the store, and they're like, okay, we need a reference for an American school. Oh, Kindergarten Cop. Here we go. That's all about a school.
Well, I know that they, when they were originally creating the game, Konami wanted to do like a Hollywood style like type game, and then they...
And I don't even know what that really means. What does that mean?
Like I don't know.
Like, especially at that time period, what is a Hollywood type of game? Yeah, I
like
guess
Kindergarten Cop, I guess.
Like, nowadays, I guess you can kind of get what that means. Like, that'd be like what Uncharted sort of is or something like that. But, like, back then, it's like...
Yeah, I know. I was like, what the hell?
Like, of course that's confusing.
But yeah, you know, I mean, obviously they wanted to appeal to the masses over here in America. But obviously that's not what ended up happening when they ended up creating the game.
Well, you know what I will say? You know what I guess would be similar in that... I mean, this is obviously would not have been out by that time period either, but Metal Gear Solid, I guess, would have been that Hollywood-type style. Because that's how that sort of feels.
Probably a pretty good example.
It's got the over-the-top production. It's got the, you know, the good voice acting in it.
Like,
it's got the cutscenes.
They roll credits like a movie, really, you know? Like, the beginning of the movie's going on, and just watching the credits roll. But, dude, I didn't realize how much bullshit they ran into with Konami trying to create this game.
Yeah, just so weird. I love how, like, after a while, Konami just kind of just, like, left them. Like, whatever.
I know, dude. They're just like, you know, well, that failed, and then they just kind of, like, it's just like the unwanted child of the family, you know? They just kind of, like, locked them away and just forgot about
the corner office of the building, you know, being like, okay, we'll get these guys over here to work on
Contra. Go play over there, you know?
You know, and I guess... You know, great production for Metal Gear Solid 2 and so on, I guess, by this point, maybe, or whatnot. Getting closer.
But yeah, no, dude, it's just, they ran into so much bullshit with Konami, you know, and then they just went off and did their own thing when they started to feel like outsiders, obviously, you know, because they didn't really have a choice, you know?
Yeah.
Konami was shunning them, and they obviously thought the project was going to fail. But, no. And then, dude, I don't understand why Konami was why they were such dicks towards Team Silent in creating this game.
Well, I think whenever you got a lot of money invested in something and then, like, you're kind of, like, not 100% sure on it, I guess that always kind of comes into play. Like, you try to think of, like, what it's like to be on that side of the fence. You know, of course, you know, you can get a bunch of creative people that think that, like, they know what's going on, but when you're kind of coming in, you're like, oh, God, what are they doing? Just, like, the stress level probably is, like, intense. You're like, there's millions of dollars riding on this, and we don't know what they're really doing.
True. I mean, you know, from a business standpoint, I guess, you know, you're like, all right, we should probably cut it off here, you know?
You know, because there's always a certain games or those movies or so on where you get somebody who's almost too much of a visionary, and then they just take it over budget, and maybe in the long run it's not like, you know, it's still a good, enjoyable thing, but it was not this big seller that you're kind of hoping for, and it's not helping the cause.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you know, Konami looks back and it's one of the biggest games of all
Obviously,
time,
now they look back and they go, whatever.
Yeah.
That was a moment in history. We'll just put that in the box with, you know, Sunset Riders and Contra and Metal Gear Solid and all that other stuff that we don't care about anymore. You know, one of those things. But, I don't know, it's just like, there's something so special about that time period of, like, you know, all these survival horror games, and really Silent Hill kind of just advances it in one other direction. Past, you know, sort of like, you know, Resident Evil's doing its thing. It kind of almost goes in its own direction and just adds just the creepy elements of just these weird monsters and these weird demons and things like that. Like, because you think about, like, and I don't know, I mean, like, of course there's monsters and demons and things like that in other video games before, but not like that creepy level of that Japanese kind of horror movie kind of feel. You know, I can't even think of too much more. I mean, there's kind of weird looking monsters and Alone in the Dark. And, I mean, like, yeah, like, Zombies Ate My Neighbors has, like, you know, classic style horror monsters, but just things that look like they're just 100% original, just like, demon. Like, they don't have, like, too much form to them.
Yeah, they're not from this dimension, essentially, you know? Like, they're either from hell or from another time. One cool thing about, you know, what they did, you know, is with each Silent Hill game, they kept the crazy looking monsters and changed them up. They made it even weirder and stuff like that. You know, so
like you got the 1 and 2 where like it's like the legs on top of legs coming.
Dude, I know, dude. The first time I saw that, I was like, "What the hell is that?" And then you got like when you're in the hotel in 2, and you got the big fat, like I don't even know, they're like dog creatures that run after you in that.
Oh yeah, they're just like real massive.
You don't even spend much time in the hotel after you go across the lake. Really, it's
good, because that hotel
kind of a blip in the game.
I will say that hotel was like one of those parts in that game. It was just like, it's dark, everything looks the same. Like, okay, what are we going to get out of this? Or I guess that's the hotel. That's the apartment building I'm thinking of. Take that back.
The hotel was pretty dark, though, I think.
The hotel's kind of cool. I like that. But it kind of reminds me more of Resident Evil. But yeah. But But yeah, like in Silent Hill 1, like the one, I think the scariest creature of like the normal enemies in Silent Hill 1, and also kind of the most pain in the ass one, is those rompers that come in like when you get to the second part of town, or whatever they call it, New Town.
Yeah.
Not Old Town, the one part where the police station, and where you find the hospital and everything like that. That hospital does go on forever, but...
Dude, the hospital was so long, I felt
and then you go back to like a second version of the hospital like later on, because that's the one thing about this game, is this is one of those ones, like, if you had no strategy guide, this is one of those games you could have easily put in almost like 40 hours. Yeah. Like, no joke. You know what I mean? Like, even if you have a strategy guide, this game's going to take you over 10 hours long, pretty much.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's a lot of searching around, you know, and
especially if you don't know where you're going, you're just aimlessly wandering into dark alleys and finding stupid flying creatures that you don't want to mess with and so on.
Yeah, which I did a lot, So,
yeah, exactly. And, I mean, the cool thing is you always have, like, they have the cool features, like, you have that radio that, you can always kind of hear when an enemy's coming, which is always kind of cool yet creepy at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you're, like, sitting there and you're like, where is it? It's like you don't want to move further in the fog, but then you're kind of waiting.
Coming up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, dude. I like how Resident Evil did it personally, but with like listening to like the clicking of the dog's nails on the floors, or and then when they start running, or the zombie shuffling, like actually using the sounds of the creatures. But no, dude, the radio is definitely creepy. Just the static is just creepy all on its own, But it definitely helps, like having the radio and knowing that enemies are coming up. Otherwise, it'd be doable, obviously.
It'd be interesting what that game's like without the radio.
It would be a pain in the ass because you just run into creatures randomly just running down the road and stuff like that, I feel like I would run by a lot more.
Yeah, I don't think I'd stop.
The radio makes me want to kill. I like walk, and I kind of move slower and I'm like ready to fight, whereas like I didn't have the radio, I would probably just run as fast as I could.
Because I'm trying to think of that game. It's like if you put it on like the hardest mode, does the radio still there on the hardest mode? God, I can't even remember now.
I don't remember.
That's true, because the last time I played, I definitely didn't play it on the hardest mode, because it's like, nope, if I'm going back to Silent Hill. I've learned that, like, long ago. When it comes to survival horror games, you only put them up in the harder modes, like, when you just have already played it. Like, if I play a game and then I'm going for a second round, then they'll go in a harder mode. But if you try to go, like, on the hard mode, like, and you haven't played the game in years or something like that, you go back to it, you get about like 2 hours in, and you get super frustrated, and you just turn the game off.
Exactly.
It never makes for a good experience.
It's like, I want to have fun. I don't want to sit here and be pissed.
You got to stair step your way into it. It's like I always use it. If you're gonna play Resident Evil the remake, you start with like whatever it is, like mountain climbing, or no, I think it's hiking's like the easy one. It's always the weird thing. And then I think mountain climbing, and then you just work your way up to that hard mode, and that's how you kind of do it. You don't just start with the hard mode, or else you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, the only game that they really like, because like Resident Evil 3 started you off with easy or hard.
Yeah.
And then, it's like, well,
there's no in between.
I don't want to go to hard, right away, So it's like you go to easy and then you go to your first item box and you're like,
whoa,
holy shit, it's like, this is way easy. It's like, I don't even have to find a bunch of weapons and stuff like that. They got you loaded with ammo.
I know, it's kind of weird there's no in-between mode in that game.
I know.
You know what I mean? They're not saying that, like, Resident Evil 3, it's not, like, ridiculously easy with all those weapons and stuff, but...
The way I feel in Resident Evil 3, it's like they called it hard mode, but I really feel like that's normal mode, Like, it was harder than easy, obviously, but I feel like that game more is lacking a hard mode because, like, I feel like when I play it on hard mode, it's like a traditional Resident Evil game, playing it on just, like, normal. Yeah,
well, because really, it's like, as long as you're not going for the weapons from Nemesis... That's the part. That's what makes it really hard.
That's the best part, though.
Yeah, but if you just do the old-fashioned run away, then it is kind of like normal mode of Resident Evil, I guess, by that standard.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I guess we'll get to Resident Evil 3 later too, But
till then, I know that's the thing. It's just you fall off the Silent Hill track, and that's the thing. Is like, as much as I've always loved Silent Hill, like I've never had like nearly as the devotion to it as, say, Resident Evil. Like, in fact, it wasn't until recently that I played Silent Hill 3 and 4. Like, I just never got somehow, some way, never got around to
I mean,
them.
Silent Hill is awesome.
Yeah.
But it's just, it just never resonated with me like any of the Resident Evils ever did the first time I played them, And I mean, maybe it's a bias because I played Resident Evil first, but I mean, which makes sense.
Well, maybe because maybe because like all the sequels didn't come out on GameCube at that time period, so that probably had an effect on it too. Yeah. You know, because I didn't have a PS2 till a little bit later, anyways. It was more like GameCube first and foremost.
I feel like for some reason Resident Evil has a better replayability value too than Silent Hill. You know, but.
I know, that's always one of those ones. It causes controversy when you say that, but I always feel the same way too. Like Resident Evil is just that pure something so special about it. And don't get me wrong, I love Silent Hill.
Silent Hill is great, dude.
But and this is how I kind of do it, because I'm just more of a sci-fi person than I am a fantasy person. That's always kind of how it is. It's like another example I use is I never ever got into like Skyrim and all those kind of games, but I could get into Fallout. Yeah. And I think the whole reason why is I like a sci-fi story more than I like a fantasy one. I mean, not saying that if I bet you if I sat down and played like the Skyrim and any of those other Elder Scrolls games, they probably would have a great time. Not saying that I wouldn't, but you know, or it's like I like Star Wars way more than I like Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Just saying, you know.
Yeah, dude, no doubt. I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm not a Fallout fan really, but I mean, I could not get into like the Elder Scrolls games really.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's just, I think it's a sci-fi fantasy thing. It's like once. Not that I don't like. I like Lord of the Rings. I just don't like as much as like a sci-fi story, you know. And I think that's even. I think even with, you know, Silent Hill and Resident Evil, something about, like, to me, it's like one of those ones, like, I also feel like this is, like, to me, Resident Evil is much more scarier. I don't care what anybody says, I've always thought Resident Evil is scarier. And here's the thing, because Resident Evil has that hint of, like, this could literally happen.
Dude, I was just about to say that. You just read my mind. It's like, the thing for me that makes Resident Evil scary is that, like, it's like, yeah, well, depending on who you talk to, that it's out of the realm of possibility. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
No, I think it's like you're right around the corner. And
that's beside the point. But, you know, it's just like, with Resident Evil, it's like, yeah, it's out of the realm of possibility, but is it really? Yeah. You know, it's like, I mean, considering, you know, what the medical advances and stuff like that in real life happen, you know, and it's like, you know, viruses mutating and yeah, exactly, you know, people mutate too, you know, so it's just like, is that really and you know, it's like zombies are just, you know, they're just more believable to me, which make them more scary to me, you know, and it's like, don't get me wrong, like demons and stuff, they make me uneasy, you know, and it's a scary concept, but it's like,
we know they're not real. That's exactly, kind of, you know, it's total fantasy.
I know that, you know, with like zombies and stuff, you know, it's like, you know, there are known viruses out there, you know, that make people not act like themselves, you know, and just kind of like zombie them out. Maybe not in the eat your flesh and, you know, rip your guts out sense, you know, but
yeah,
it's just like, you know, I mean, like rabies. Look at rabies, dude. It makes like, it kind of turns dogs into like flesh-hungry zombies. They just want to like bite, and they just go crazy. Exactly, it's a perfect example, you know. But you know, so it's just like it just makes it a little bit more scary for me.
Yeah, it's just, there's something about that. I don't know what it is. It's just like in my mind, like, you know, when you know that something has that little bit more potential to be real than the other one, it kind of makes it scary. And this is the other concept. This sounds like such a weird one. I know, but now I feel like we just got into like a Resident Evil.
I know,
let me tell you why Resident Evil's better.
It's because the games came out so close together. Yeah. You know, you can't help but contrast the two.
Well, and then also too, remember the 90s was all about like picking sides. I don't know why that was. In hindsight, I look back at that and I can't really figure it out. But it was like you either had Nintendo or you had Sega. You had Biggie or you had Tupac. You know, you had Arnold or you had Stallone. I mean, they didn't allow you to like everything in the 90s.
It's still like that now in some things, but yeah, no, you're totally right. Like now, it's like it's more acceptable to like two things as opposed to being like, you know, I kind of like this one more than the other one. Yeah. But I mean, you know, I'm not picking sides, but I'm on Resident Evil's side.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, here's the thing. I'll still love Silent Hill. Silent Hill is my total like second player.
It's like I don't want to pick sides, but I'll pick sides if I have to, you know. But
this is my other thing I want to say about why I think Resident Evil has a little bit more scarier element than Silent Hill is that in Resident Evil, practically every enemy can grab you. And something about being grabbed, I think, is much more scarier than something just swinging at you. Where a lot of creatures in Silent Hill just swing at you.
We'll see, yeah. With Silent Hill, I feel like with the dogs and stuff like that, I can like...
They just kind of jump and lunge
I can run by them easier because I know they're going to jump at you.
Where, you know, in the ones in Resident Evil, I can't remember if they do in the original one, but like they could jump onto you and so on like that. Yeah. You know, where the zombies grab onto you. Your normal enemy just grabs you, you know what I mean? Where like even like the little kids like in Silent Hill, they just kind of shank you, you know what I mean? Or... I think of like, especially even like Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill 3 has a lot of those enemies that like, they just sort of like swing and lunge at you, but they don't grab you. And I don't know what it is. There's something about the grabbing element that makes it so much scarier. It's kind of like old-fashioned horror like houses that you would have around Halloween, which they can't do it anymore because there's like, I don't know, there's a law passed like 10 years ago or something where you can't grab them. But I kid you not, like the scary level of a haunted house went down by like 80% the second that they couldn't grab you anymore, because I don't know what it is, because once they can't grab you, it's almost like there's that safety barrier put in. You're like, well, I can't grab me.
This is, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, dude, I've gone to, haunted houses, it's like, I know they can't touch me, so I just walk there, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of lame, but...
I remember
it's 2018, man. Someone's just gonna sue you if you try to grab.
Yeah, you just can't do it. It's such a bummer.
Like,
I remember even like the biggest ones. Like there was a haunted house that they had in Universal Studios for the Mummy. Do you remember that one at all?
No, dude. I went to the haunted house that's in Universal, like the haunted walkthrough or whatever they have. But
now this was obviously would have been like 10, 15 years ago by now, because
it
was Mummy.
I never saw the Mummy one. I don't think.
Well, that one, because it was had such high production value, being in Universal Studios, and it was all shaped like you're like in pyramids with pharaohs and all that kind of stuff, but they could grab you at that time period. It was, oh my god, when you saw like one of those dogmen guys come out and get you, so that to me was so terrifying. It's an experience that no one can really ever get again, sadly.
It'd be really cool to get some sort of survival horror theme park somehow, some way.
Well, think about
Universal Studios in Florida did that one Halloween where they themed out Resident Evil.
Did they really?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It was really freaking cool. They had I think it was like a giant liquor. I think I saw. Obviously I didn't go.
Well, yeah, it's in Florida. All the good stuff happens in Florida.
I wish I could have freaking went.
I don't know why that is, but. The California one's supposed to be the original one, but obviously it doesn't get anything first.
I mean, yeah, it's only Hollywood.
Yeah,
like Jesus.
Unlike Florida, like what does that have to do with movies? Just real estate's cheaper, I understand, but still.
Oh, dude.
But even like that, like Silent Hill would be such a cool one for like just to set up like a whole town and just have it like very like misty.
Even if
just start a coal fire underneath the town.
The movie was good.
I think the Silent Hill movie is the best video game movie ever made as far as like accuracy goes.
Even if they did a theme park and followed the movie instead of like actually trying to follow the games, because like I don't know, just obviously they've already done the movie, so it might be easier to recreate what was in the movie as opposed to trying to create something new out of the game. But the movie was good.
Well, I think it's like that movie is one of those ones where like they literally put the effort into. The director was into it, the writers were into it, they really want to make it, like, and all, like, the changes that they make, they're such, like, subtle ones that I feel there's always going to be somebody who wants the most 100% perfect one, but they all sort of work, and then they, they might take some elements from 2 and 3, and I think they even said they took elements from 4, God knows what those are, but, just like, 4 was, like, coming out the same time, I think, year that one was coming out or something, give or take, but I feel like that is such an accurate adaptation, like
dude. I mean, they obviously, they have the God damn it, I can't remember the
Sybil, the cop,
the actress's name in the movie
who plays not Harry but Harry.
So yeah, that's the point I'm getting to, anyways. Well, dude, anyways,
female Harry.
I'll bet you 9 times out of 10 I could come up with her name, but not now, obviously. But no, dude, it's like obviously, it's a woman instead of Harry, but I like that they followed essentially, they tried to follow the game's guide,
Mm-hmm.
Now, since we're on the movie topic, we can go back to Resident Evil for a second. Silent Hill did their movie better than Resident Evil did.
Oh, yeah, by far. I would say, like,
one thing I will say about Silent Hill that did better than Resident Evil is the movie. They
I think that
did a better job following the storyline.
Now,
if they made a Resident Evil movie following the game, it would be the greatest movie of all time.
Yeah, exactly. If you all you gotta do is do Resident Evil 1, don't change anything. Take the remake and just make it into a movie, you have 100%
It's basically a movie already.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to do anything.
And then you could follow the sequel of the games, dude, and it would be like the most epic movie series ever.
Exactly.
But yeah, dude, the Silent Hill movie is really freaking good, and that's definitely one thing that I thought they did. I mean, Resident Evil was cool, the liquor was freaking cool, but dude, the creatures in Silent Hill were just on freaking par.
Everything was like pure accurate to it. It gave you the same feel. It had like the same storyline. You pretty much
gave you like the
characters were all.
What the fuck is happening?
They didn't start just making up characters in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, and like the whole just the whole psychological terror of the movie, with the cult and everything. You're just like, what the?
They got it so
this is
down.
Insane, but when they dude, the part in the movie when Pyramid Head rips off that chick's skin, you're just like, what the hell just happened?
I know, it's just so badass.
It's like, I gotta rewind that. I gotta see that again.
But no, I think that one is like, every time I watch it, I always just go, this movie's so dialed in. And I just feel like sometimes it never gets, I mean, people give it credit where credit's due, but not as much as it needs. I feel that movie just really like, you know, I mean, out of all the video game movies out there, it might not be my number one favorite one. Probably that still is going to be reserved for Super Mario Brothers for me, but but beyond that though, like Silent Hill, I think is the most well-made one.
Yeah, dude, no doubt, dude.
Like nothing's nearly as accurate as that is.
You can tell that they were just trying to go for the video game story, you know, which is the best part.
You know, or Resident Evil just kind of had that, like, let's do our own thing a little too much.
It's like, yeah, we're going to steal the liquor from Resident Evil 2. We're going to steal the zombies from the game series, you know, and steal the virus idea, and then, but...
And don't get me wrong, like, I take the Resident Evil as just, like, it's alternate reality of Resident Evil, and I like them for what they are, the movies.
It was a reimagining.
Yeah, and that's, if you look at it like that, they're good movies, but... You know, if you try to go into it for, like, you want the most accurate thing, well, they're not going to deliver that to you. I mean, at least the first movie kind of does that, like, sort of parallel story. Like, it could happen around the same time as between Resident Evil, like, 1 to sort of 2.
I would have liked to see a Silent Hill 2.
Well, yeah, I know. They did that other Silent Hill movie, the one that was, like, Silent Hill, what the heck was that one called? It came out, like, you know, only like 5 years ago or 6 years ago or something like that. And I remember I only watched it once, and it does like Silent Hill's 3 story sort of, which I like that game a lot. That's my second favorite Silent Hill game. But it felt like it was almost made for like 13-year-old girls. Like it just didn't have the seriousness that it felt like it was just made to be jump scares, and
I wonder what the name of it was.
Wasn't bad, but it wasn't really great like the first one.
Did I watch it? I wonder what the name of it was, because...
I got a digital copy. If anything, I should just hand it over to you.
I vaguely recall, like, them making another one, but I know it wasn't a sequel or anything like that, but... I mean, well, it was.
Well,
but,
I can't remember if it was totally a sequel. I just know that, like, because the main character in it is literally, like, Harry's daughter from the third one. They use that character.
Dude, did I freaking see that movie? But it just wasn't as good as the first one, so I just don't remember it.
All I remember is it was totally just... It went too hard on the jump scares. Like, it was totally going for the 13-year-old girl crowd.
Yeah.
It was just not as serious.
It's a horror movies nowadays, though.
I know, you get those ones and they get the jump scares and you just ruin a great comedy. It was like that Winchester movie. It was like, that should have been amazing. That should have been cool. And they just found a way to, like, make it not good.
Okay, dude, I'm glad I didn't go see it. Jessica wanted to see it, but we were both kind of on the fence about it, and I was like... it looks okay, but it's just like, God, I'm so skeptical on it. Yeah. You know? So it looks like it should be good, but I feel like they're showing all the good stuff in the commercials. Just get that feeling about this one.
It's like, that's for example, is like that movie should have been creepy, like The Shining. That's what it should have felt like. And instead they went the jump scare route. And it's like, it's like, have you never even been to the Winchester Mystery House? And then when I saw the credits and it said it was made in Australia, I was like, well, of course you've probably never been there.
I know.
You know what I mean? It's right down the street from me. In a sense, 2 hours away from us. We could go down there for you. I could go down there. Believe me, it's got the greatest arcade you've ever seen for a place like this.
Yeah, no, dude. Now I'm kind of glad we didn't see it.
Yeah, it was kind of a letdown. It was one of those ones like it should have been cool because it's a great idea. Great idea. But they just, like, they cheapened out. I mean, they even had Heather Marion in it, so it's like, I thought that was going to be the saving grace, and of course it wasn't. But yeah, that's getting off topic.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah, we should probably steer it back towards Silent Hill a little bit.
Back towards Silent Hill and all its kind of...
Dude, what's that guy's name? I think I wrote it down, actually, Dan, because I knew I wasn't going to remember it.
Which
guy? He was the creator. He created all the in-game characters. They put him in charge of... I did write it down.
Oh, is that the guy who, like...
Takayoshi Sato?
Yeah, he was like the guy who was like, well, you know what? I'm not going to sketch anything out. I'm just going to do the 3D design.
Dude, that's the best part, dude. That guy ran into unbelievable hell trying to help them create Silent Hill, dude. I was blown away, dude.
This poor guy, he totally got put in the corner. Like, I remember he had to go and make all those cutscenes by himself just to prove his job was worthy.
It's almost like, I don't know, dude. Dude, and I felt really bad for him once I read a little bit more in depth on, like, what he had to deal with, you know, and it's like, he basically, you know, my favorite part is when I was reading that he created a movie demo, and then, like, you know, like a 3D demo, you know, using the computers and stuff like that. Showed it to him.
And then I think they all said like they like left him in there overnight when everybody else went home, and he got to use like all 130 powers.
Yeah, because he had to do them all he had to do it all on each individual computer. But yeah, he showed him that movie demo, and then he was like, "I'm not giving this to you, and I'm going to take my job elsewhere if you don't put me in charge of the 3D modeling."
Yeah,
they're like,
"Oh, okay."
He's like, "I'm not going to teach anyone this or anything. I'm just going to keep it to myself." And they gave him the job, so obviously it worked.
It all worked out. But yeah, like that's the time period too when like one guy could create like a whole CG cutscene. Like, can you imagine that nowadays? No, it's like they got like 1,000 people on every.
I know, dude. And he was like creating stuff, and they weren't giving him credit for it. They were giving the credit to like this people above him, for creating it. Even though he was the one making it and showing them how to do it, he wasn't getting any of the credit for it. It was that poor guy, dude, is getting shafted.
Oh no, he's just getting the ultra like Konami treatment there and everything, but
assholes, dude, assholes.
I know.
But yeah, no, I like that they put him in charge of the in-game characters, which helped a lot. They also made him correct any plot inconsistencies, and stuff like that. Even though I know they were going for kind of like one of those contrasting kind of, make you think kind of plots, but... Yeah,
exactly.
But, no, dude, that poor freaking guy, dude. I mean, I'm glad he got it because the rest is history at this point.
Yeah, it's like, it all worked out for him in the job. It's not like one of those sad stories that the guy who invented the Game Boy, and then he made the Virtual Boy, and then Nintendo shunned him, and then he got in a car crash and died.
Oh my god! That's a sad story!
It's so sad!
It's like, jeez.
It's like you do one of the best things ever for a company, and then you make the worst thing for a company, and then you get in a car crash and die. It just doesn't help anything.
I don't know, dude. One good thing is, I guess, they worked, instead of like trying to like create a game, which I'm assuming falls under the Hollywood category, like Konami wanted, instead of creating a game that would just, sell like crazy, to the masses, they were like taking their time and wanted to create like a masterpiece of a horror game, as opposed to just trying to create a traditional sales-oriented game.
Yeah, exactly. And well, I think too, it's like that was the time period where people were really in Japan were trying to figure out like, what do Americans like? You know what I mean? Because clearly there's more people over there to sell to than there is in Japan. And it's funny how it is. That's how Metal Gear Solid was. Metal Gear Solid sold so much better in the U.S. that they made it, when 2 came out, it came out like a week or two beforehand in the U.S. than it did in Japan. So it's like, there's certain games that just kind of appeal differently and so on, and it's just one of those always interesting things. And I know Silent Hill sort of always has appealed a little bit more to Japan. That's why they've gotten some of those other weird releases. Like they have that one that came out like on Game Boy Advance where it's like a text adventure version of Silent Hill 1. Which, have you ever seen like, it just, well, I mean, it's all in Japanese, so it doesn't really like help the cause, but like, it really doesn't look like the most, like a very interesting game. Like,
yeah, it's like a completely text
like,
kind
well,
of game.
can I just get a novel of the game, I guess, if that's the case?
That's
like,
basically, I think that's what they called it, basically. It was like a play novel or something.
I wonder if they ever did any cool novels, sort of like the S.D. Perry, like Resident Evil ones of Silent Hill. Now, I know there's comic books of Silent Hill, but I wonder if there is any, like, one that, like, just a straight up, like, Silent Hill 1, in the novel form. Because that would be actually kind of neat.
I feel like we would know about it at this point.
I feel like I would, too, because I know about those comic books, and I've never...
I feel like we would have seen it at one point, because, when I go into, like, bookstores.
Yeah, back in the olden days when they only had that small section of video game books, you would have saw them.
Now the video game book section is quite large. Actually. I mean, not large, but it
bigger.
Takes up one side of a shelf.
Yeah, now it's got its own row. It's not just like a crevice.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not some sort of corner where you go back there and you're shunned to the corner, just like Team Silent was.
Yeah, just see like Team Silent, you're getting the silent treatment.
Did you ever play Shattered Memories?
No, I haven't. And this is what always bothers me about that. Is I remember seeing that game on Amazon, brand new, for like under $20 for the longest time. I'm like, I should get this. And now that game's like one of those ones where it's like kind of like it's like over $30 plus used. And you're like, God damn, I should.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I heard it was a reimagining of the first one.
Yeah, it's kind of that weird thing where it's like
there's no combat.
That's what always is like. That's the one thing I feel it's either gonna be the make or break thing for me for that game. It looks really cool though. Like whenever I look at it, like it looks like a fun game. And I think maybe the way it's designed might work out fine, but that's the one thing I don't like survival horror games where I can't fight.
Yeah.
That's something that's really like the biggest turnoff for me in those kind of games is because it's like I'd rather say give me the chance to fight, but even if it's really difficult, where it's probably best I run, and it goes same with stealth games. It's the exact same way too. I don't like stealth games that like you can't fight and you just instantly like get a game over. Like that to me is really annoying. Like give me the chance. Like
Splinter Cell.
Yeah, the first two Splinter Cell. Like they fixed it in the third.
Chaos Theory was fantastic, but yeah,
those first two ones, they just you could be in a mission like 40 minutes into it, and all of a sudden it's just like some guy sees you and it's like game over. Start that whole thing over again, because that was before checkpoints and all that stuff.
No, dude, that's why it took me. I didn't even get into Splinter Cell till Chaos Theory.
I never did either. I couldn't get into those first ones.
Again, I guess late 90s, early 2000s, they wanted you to pick sides. So I was on Metal Gear Solid side.
Well, I remember that was a big one too, because there was those kids who would come in, those Xbox kids that would come in and try to tell you that Metal Gear Solid was crap, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like no. It's like Metal Gear Solid, I can go Rambo if I want,
Yeah,
but
and that's what I like about Metal Gear Solid. Is like you can, and sometimes it's like you can literally fight your way out of everything in Metal Gear Solid. But for the most part, it's probably best you don't do that because it's never going to really end pleasantly. But at least they give you the chance and they give you the choice.
See now, with Shattered Memories I know it's chase sequences is what they went for instead of combat, but I don't know anything. I didn't play it, so I don't know anything about the damn game, really.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more, like, it's still a game, but I think it's got almost more of a movie kind of feel to it.
Yeah, is it like
a Sega CD game?
Okay, like an Outlast. Okay, obviously there's no fighting.
Yeah, that one's got literally none, but I don't think it's like that.
Yeah, see, so it's not like run through the level chase sequences. It's probably like
almost like active time battle sequences, I think.
Now, okay, like I was saying, now with, I just don't know anything about the chase sequences, and I didn't think. But I kind of figured it was like a button prompt, kind of like camera will change in front of you and you don't control your characters running, but you're just like watching them run. You miss a button prompt, you're dead kind of thing,
Yeah, and I think that one, once again, it's not like the Outlast style where it's kind of just like try to get to the end of like the level section and don't get caught and have to hide in lockers and things like that. I think in that one, it would be more like, I think it's more puzzle oriented, but then when there is those kind of moments, I think they're almost in the active time battle thing. And I know people are like mixed on those. Kind of weird. People either totally hate those active time battles or not active time battles. That's Final Fantasy. What do they call those again? Not the active time battles. God, if Silent Hill was an RPG, like that would be awesome. That's what Parasite Eve is, and that's what makes that game so amazing.
QTEs?
Yeah, QTEs. There you go. Quick time events.
Yeah.
Like Shenmue. Because I was thinking, to me, that's where it always originated from. Was Shenmue was the game that kind of introduced like the quick time events. And maybe there was something beforehand, but that's what made them popular. And if you played Shenmue, it seemed like you were totally like 100% with them. But it seemed like people that didn't play Shenmue, like they hate those for some reason. I
feel like I wouldn't like Shattered Memories.
I don't know.
It's
weird, but like I look at it, it looks kind of cool, and it looks like it's got cool puzzles, and it looks like the story's kind of neat, and just the idea of it being kind of like a remake, and instead of having it where like in the original Silent Hill when it goes like dark and like when you get to like the kind of like the demon world, it gets to this like rustic look, and you start getting like the industrial music where it's like chong ching chong ching, and it, like everything gets rusty and harder to see because that's how that game is. It's so hard to see sometimes. But and this one instead it gets frozen, which sounds like a cool concept, and like it becomes like an Iceland. Like that's just kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Just the chase sequences don't sound all that appealing. Like like I said with Outlast, I know there's no fighting, but the cool thing about Outlast is like if you don't know where the hell you're going, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
It's like if you take a wrong turn, and or anything like that. So having like the layout of the level to run around is nice, but so I just don't know how I feel about it. But it's probably a cool game to just play through once,
Yeah, I bet you it is a cool because it probably just adds a lot to the lore. Just probably adds that extra dimension.
I don't feel like it would be a game that would hold my attention where I'd play from beginning to end nonstop kind of game. Though I feel like I'd play it here, play it a few days later.
And I feel like too, you got to get it on the Wii. Like if you got on PS2, I feel like you totally be missing out like on the experience. Like you know what I mean? Like it feels like that game was such a Wii-made game. It's so weird that it came out on PS2 as well.
Yeah, and considering now that it's so expensive, I probably won't play it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I looked it up today. It's not that expensive. I mean, it's only like $30 used. Sometimes there's that kind of thing. It's like, well, that's really as long as the game you're gonna like at least enjoy somewhat because it's got great reviews. Like people that do play it like it a lot. But
yeah.
It's a weird one, and I thought that, like, well, one of these days we'll come around and try that one out at some point, just because, it sounds interesting. It's a cool concept, if anything.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to try it out one day. But, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about a reimagining of the first game.
I mean, granted, I will say Silent Hill is an example of a game that could use a cool remake of it, because I just think that first story is such a good, just like Resident Evil 1, the first story is so good.
Dude, a remake with some additional plot and some additional enemies and characters for the original Silent Hill would be fucking awesome.
You know what I mean? It'd be amazing if they kept it, because the thing about, it's not like stuck in the, it doesn't have the pre-rendered backgrounds, and it doesn't, I mean, it has camera angles, but sort of like, it's a little bit different, so it can almost get away with being a little bit more in the modern style. I mean, it'd be cool if they just kind of kept it kind of in that same sort of way, you know, maybe a little bit more fluid controls and so on. But, you know, because the one thing about that game, I will say, especially, it's probably a hard sell. Like, you know, if Resident Evil was a hard sell to you, I feel like Silent Hill would be even harder to go back to, because it is one of those kind of games where it is like, it is PlayStation as you can get, as far as like, you know, you show some kid that like game and it just probably looks muddy and tough to see. I mean, it is even kind of hard to see. There's points in that game where it's just so dark that you almost like, if they didn't give you a map, you wouldn't know where you're going. I mean, and then you get to that sewer part and they don't give you a map and you're just running around the bottom of a sewer, hopefully hoping you're going to find your way out of there.
I really hope that someday they do a remake of the first one, though. You know,
yeah.
Upgrade it. Especially since remakes are all the rage nowadays, so... You know,
yeah.
like, dude, with that PlayStation Console Classic or whatever that's coming out, you know, the where it's got...
Oh, the PS Mini?
Yeah, that's it.
It's kind of funny because a lot of people keep saying, like, oh, I think they should have this game and that game, and I can pretty much almost rule out any of those games, because you look at the controller, they give you the original PlayStation controller, so that makes me assume that they're going 97 and back. Anything above 98 wouldn't be on there, even though I did kind of think Silent Hill would probably be fine. I don't think is there a reason why you need the DualShock too much? I mean... The vibration, I can't remember if the vibration does anything. Like, there's not like a point where, like, you kind of need it.
Silent Hill will be fine, but if they put Silent Hill on there without Resident Evil, I'm going to be pissed. Like, so I don't think that they're going to put more than one survival horror game on it. That's the thing.
Well, then this is why I kind of wonder, will they put any on there? Because do they want to put a mature rated game on there? I kind of wondered that, too.
I think they will. I think they're going to put Resident Evil on there. I think that's a pretty...
It would be kind of dumb not to. I mean, like... Because I'm thinking it's supposed to be, like, almost like if you got a PlayStation in the early 90s, or the mid-90s, right when it kind of came out in its first couple of years, you know, like, what are the games you would get? You would get Tomb Raider, you would get Resident Evil, you would get maybe Crash Bandicoot 1, you would get Twisted Metal, of course. That's definitely going to be on there because it's a Sony-made game. You know, and so on. I feel what they're going to do is they're going to pre-plan it so that they make they play the PlayStation Mini with the DualShock, and then you'll get games like Ape Escape and maybe Legend of Dragoon, and you'll start getting, and then maybe Silent Hill. And I think Silent Hill's a good contender anyways, because I just use the SNES Classic and the NES Mini ones, because all the games that are not Nintendo on there either come from Konami or Capcom.
Yeah.
Or Squaresoft.
I'm not against them putting Silent Hill on there, but you don't put Silent Hill without putting Resident Evil on there. I mean,
yeah.
Just, you know, considering the timeline, too. But like you said, too, you know, it's like considering the controller, they're probably going with the older...
I would be really surprised to see any games that are kind of past 97 on there.
But I feel like it'll be one survival horror game, and I mean, it's got to be Resident Evil.
Alone in the Dark 2 is what they go with. Because that's the only
God.
That's the only one that came out for PlayStation. Not even like Alone in the Dark, the New Nightmare. Like Alone in the Dark 2, the one that's like the... Oh, that's not the Wild West one. That's the one where it's like the 1930s mobsters.
Yeah. Those games have such weird settings, dude.
I know. I'm just so intrigued, especially the third one. The third one's like a Wild West like theme park kind of thing. Almost like that Simpsons episode. That's like my best way I could describe it. But it's like killer like Wild West park.
The only one that like kind of makes sense is the New Nightmare setting.
Yeah, that was one of those ones once they realized like you had, because I think that game came out even after Silent Hill and you know after Resident Evil 1, 2, maybe 3.
I guess the first one we played the other
played a little bit of that one.
Yeah, the setting in that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, because that one's like straight horror. It's almost like the second one they decided to try like that same engine but with like something that wasn't really horror. And just, I think, puzzles and so on. But then, the New Nightmare, that's got to be a game we got to play at some point on here. That'd be fun.
I don't know, dude. I remember one time...
That game's so scary.
One time I rented that game, took it home, and it didn't work. I was so upset,
One of those ones where the discs all scratched up
yeah,
and
dude,
everything.
I was so upset, dude.
That was
I couldn't
always
even
such
get
a
past
problem
the
back in the
menu,
day.
dude.
You know, get past the menu and everything.
That was the shitty thing.
And the worst part too is you go back. It's not like they have another copy. They only have one, probably.
That was the shitty thing about renting games in the back in the day too. You know?
Oh yeah, because the disc would always just get crapped up. You know what I mean? Like at least the cartridge had a little bit more like longevity.
Yeah, dude, I'd like to see them. I mean, a little off topic of what we're talking about now, but on topic with the podcast. I'd like to see them remake other Silent Hills too, like not just the first one, but like the second one.
But I will say that second one, the HD version,
it holds up good.
Yeah, like that holds up amazing.
I have that HD remaster collection, you know, where the second one was on it, and it's good. I would just love to see like a new engine, you know, and just graphics updated, you know, and just super smooth, you know, and with additional stuff, but. The first one first. First one should be first.
Yeah, because I say, like 2, I mean, like 3, the only downfall it has is that one. 2 doesn't really have any glitches that I really noticed, but I know 3 had some of those glitches towards the end of the game. Not like anything that made the game unplayable, but just at first it almost felt like it added like scariness to it. Scariness.
There's no reason why they can't remake the first one, dude. Seriously, because I don't know.
Actually, there's a reason why probably until like the Konami changes like its plans around, which I think they will. Like I like to have an optimistic view that Konami's just doing this thing right now where they're almost taking a break from video games, but give them a while and I think they'll come back to it, and you know there'll be new Silent Hills and new Metal Gears and new hopefully Contras and Castlevanias and all that other stuff.
I keep seeing new Konami slot machines.
Yeah, I mean it's close. They made a Silent Hill one,
I guess, you know. But no, dude, I just well, Silent Hill, dude, I think it just needs an upgrade. The first one more so than any. And like Homecoming, like they did so good with it. You know, well, I feel like they did. A lot of people hated it, but I really liked Homecoming personally.
Well, like because I still haven't played that one. I got sitting here and I haven't played it yet, and I always hear people go like they're like, oh, they made it too action oriented. I'm like. Silent Hill's always had action. Like, what? Did you never play the game? Like, you can literally kill everything if you wanted to in that game.
It's just they made it like I feel like they made meleeing a little bit more achievable in that game.
Well, I remember like in Silent Hill 4, there was like you got this axe, and after a while you realized that the axe was so much better than everything else because you could do this charge attack where like you literally did a spin and brought the axe down, and nothing could hit you while you're doing that spin. So it's like the best thing ever.
We'll have to play through Homecoming together sometime. I have the strategy guide too, like the actual strategy guide, so I'll have to bring that over.
I think you play it on Xbox One now. Not like I don't know if it has any like enhancements to it, but that's just kind of cool.
We'll have to go through it sometime because I thought it was a lot of fun.
But yeah, it's just one of those ones like. Yeah, all those Silent Hills and so on. It's just kind of a bummer they kind of petered out after a while, where, you know, Resident Evil still kind of carried on. Like, Resident Evil still does good. They're in a different genre, or it's still survival horror. It's just, you know, more action-oriented. But they kind of, like, where Silent Hill just kind of petered out and people just kind of forgot about it, almost sort of like what happened to other, like, game series. Like, it's kind of weird that sometimes some games just do not translate into like the next console generation.
What was the last actual Silent Hill game to come out? Downpour?
Downpour, I think, was the last. Well, there was the one for PSP Vita, but
oh yeah,
like Book of Memories or something like that. Yeah. It was like Diablo or something.
Downpour was okay. I mean, I played it and it was alright. It just wasn't. What
wasn't like an amazing one?
I would not do a podcast on just Downpour. I'll put it that way, you know. It's just there's not much you can say about it. I felt like it was super buggy and glitchy when it came out, and you know, obviously I bought it when it came out, so I mean, that's
maybe it comes back around. Who knows? Maybe like once they updated it and so on.
Yeah, maybe if I played it nowadays, it would run smoother. But it's just like it just didn't hit me like some of the other Silent Hills did.
It didn't bring you in like, you know, like Silent Hill 1 just always. No matter what, when I go back to that just takes me back to those time periods of like, you know, discovering that game and kind of getting into just survival horrors in general. You know what I mean? Like. You started with Resident Evil, and then you started progressing into, like, you know, Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, Silent Hill, and just all those neat games of that early PlayStation, or like that, I guess, later day PlayStation era of number one. And yeah, just going in there. It's just like going back and just the idea of being able, like, it was an open world game in a sense, you know, which was kind of unheard of at that time period. Unless you were like an RPG, you didn't really see stuff like that.
Yeah, dude, no doubt. And I mean, dude, they did a really good job with the soundtrack inside.
Yeah, the soundtrack's amazing.
Point,
you know, it's got like that. I just love the industrial sounds. And I love how like they even like at first when like he sent the soundtrack in or whatever, they're like, oh, I think something's wrong. I don't think it processed properly or rendered out. It was like, no, that's how it's supposed to sound. It's supposed to have kind of like...
Well, the guy did the soundtrack without watching any scenes from the game.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to do, he knew he had to create, like, a soundtrack for a horror video game.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to see anything on the game before doing it, And it obviously worked out freaking perfect. How that worked out, I don't know, but it turned out awesome, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But
just did an amazing job.
No, dude, that soundtrack definitely helps make that game, too. And, I mean, everything about that game helps make that game at this point. Like I said, the rest is history,
God,
so.
what's that guy's name who did that soundtrack? Because he also did, it was like, there's a cool collaboration for that game that came out on Xbox 360 and PS3 era, where Shadows of the Damned with he does the music to it, and then you got Suda51 sort of directing it along with Shinji Mikami. So it's like you got all these guys together just to make a badass game, and I thought that game was amazing. And it has that feel like, to me, it reminds me of almost like if Robert Rodriguez made an Evil Dead movie. That's how that game kind of plays out. Where it has sort of like, it's super scary and frightening, but also slightly funny at the same time, too. And
oh, yeah, dude. I did write down the guy's name because I knew I wouldn't remember it, dude.
You see it all the time. It's
Akira
Yamamoto or...
Yamaoka?
Yamaoka, there we go. That's it.
Is that how you would say it?
I think so. But like that soundtrack, though, is something totally awesome. Because once again, it's like the whole part about Silent Hill is everything in it is just so different from like games of previous. I think that's what made it stand out fresh. Like, instead of being like, oh, here's another person trying another Resident Evil thing, with nothing wrong with that. That's one thing you kind of learn in life, is there's nothing wrong with people kind of making the same thing over a couple times, because that just means you get more versions of what you already like.
And I mean, yeah, and then like, even if those things that come out fail, like, well, that just shows me the appreciation for, the original.
Yeah, exactly. And just, when you get that Silent Hill and just all those elements and just like the cool characters and things you just kind of discover along the way, like, you get that weird doctor guy as you get kind of farther into it, and you just start questioning what's going on, or, when you meet the nurse lady and you're like, why is she not affected? I mean, everybody else in here, I killed everybody else in your hospital so far.
Sorry, bitch.
Yeah.
Everyone's dead.
I made sure nothing lived.
No, dude, I mean, for some reason, dude, the freaking children in Silent Hill are just terrifying to me. So it's just like, it's just one of the groundbreaking moments that just come to my mind every time.
Because that's what because that always comes back to me, just playing that game like as sort of like a kid, like that, all those moments.
Like, they grabbed me, and it's like they're kind of like shaking on you, they're stabbing you, and I'm like, are they humping me? Are they stabbing me? I was like, then I died. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because they do that weird thing. Like, they grab you from the front. It's like their height level is just totally wrong.
I know, and I didn't know. I just didn't know if I was getting damaged, really, like I thought I was. But, But, I don't know, dude. Even the drawings that you're following to the school and stuff are just creepy as hell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just an unsettling thought,
Yeah, just like that, and just all the things on the walls. And then, like, to top it off, like, really, I guess this is the strongest suit of Silent Hill, though, is, like, the puzzles. You know what I mean? Like, the puzzles are already one thing in Resident Evil, and they are good. I mean, they're strong. They're not kind of like some games where puzzles just seem to be like, oh, okay, that was a puzzle. Like, Silent Hill, like, really makes you think,
Yeah.
And almost, especially back in the day, it's like, you would get so stuck at some points in that game, and, like, those puzzles would be just like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah. No,
and then, there's lots of them in there. To the point where they made the other Silent Hill games have that feature where it's like, well, you can have the difficulty cranked up as high as you want, but you can put the puzzles real far down low, or do it the other way around. A lot of times what I always do is I put the puzzle difficulty up as high as I can, and then I put the other one about moderate.
Yeah, no, dude, the puzzles were definitely frustrating at times, for sure. And Resident Evil, I feel like they could be frustrating, potentially, but they were more achievable.
Yeah, like, there might have been that moment where you would have spent, like, a little bit of a while going, like, what the heck am I doing? Or I always think of, like, the first time you discover the water level puzzle. And
the water sample test in Resident Evil 3 and the freaking...
That's the thing that ruins any speedrun, is that part right there.
I mean, now I have it down to a science, but dude, oh my god, dude. My first time playing through that game, I was like... I played through like 3 sessions where I just tried that puzzle over and over and over when I was young, dude. I was just like, I can't figure this thing out.
Well, sometimes you think you're getting it right, and all you gotta do is jack it up like once, and then it's like, oh, there we go. Now it's not.
Like, now I'm more confused, god damn it.
Yeah, now it just made it worse. So there always is those points too, but Silent Hill is just filled with like lots of them. And that's, I think that's like kind of its like biggest takeaway more than anything else, is like it's always been known for like having some sweet puzzles. that use like historical like references and just make you like really test your knowledge. And they'll always have like whatever the note or something. It'll give you the clues, but
see, that's the cool thing too, is like the puzzles make you think, and then they followed suit with the game making you think. So it's just like the whole just game.
Yeah.
Just from beginning to end, it's just a thinking game.
See, that was that period too, where just Konami was just knocking it out of the park. You just had Metal Gear Solid come out with a big like thinking man's game, and then boom, you got Silent Hill, and then they did so well, and then just
didn't they release a demo of Silent Hill with Metal Gear Solid in Japan or something?
Yeah, I don't think that came to the U.S. It might have come to
I think
Europe.
it was only in Japan, but
I just remember because when you open up Metal Gear Solid, though, on the back of the booklet, it does have the Silent Hill ad for it, like Silent Hill coming like whenever, 1999. It's got like Sybil just standing with arms crossed, like, yeah, you're gonna buy this.
We're coming whenever.
Yeah, whenever it comes out in 1999. So that's what I always think of.
But yeah, no, dude, I wish it'd be so cool to get your hands on like that demo. I'm just curious because I have no idea how far that demo goes. Even.
Well, because sometimes that's the kind of cool thing. You get those demos, and then it's like there's stuff in there that's not in a regular game.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Or they might have like elements or something that's like some slightly variations of like enemies and so on. So that's what always makes those demos kind of neat. It's like you almost kind of just don't think much of it as time goes on, but in the long run, it'd be kind of interesting to see.
I agree. It'd be I don't know. I wonder if we can. It's probably expensive as hell to find one.
Well, if you ever want to buy like the physical copy, you probably download an emulator or a ROM of it, and that'd be the more realistic.
That's the way to go. Yeah. We're in 2018 now. Duh.
That's the most real. That always feel like the most realistic way to go on those kind of things. I mean, it's not saying it wouldn't be a cool collector's item to have, but
jeez, we start talking about these games from the mid to late 90s, and I start thinking that we're in the mid to late 90s still.
I know it's kind of hard. Like I realized that like I could almost stay in that time period, and if I never played video games outside of that ever again, I'd probably be 100% satisfied.
Like if we didn't even know any better.
Yeah, like if you're just trapped on an island and they just dropped you off of like a PlayStation and an N64 and a Super Nintendo, like I think I'd be 100% satisfied. I don't think I'd have any complaints.
I think I could do it too. That's for sure.
I realize that those are the systems I like. I can go back to the most that I like.
I mean, I'd have to have my choice on what games got
dropped
to me, obviously.
I don't want anything. But let's just say you got a ginormous stack of PlayStation games and a ginormous stack of Super Nintendo games and a ginormous stack of N64 games and maybe some Dreamcast too. Why not? I'd be totally satisfied with that.
Holy hell, dude! They should just give you every game for the system. Really.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna drop me on, just give me them all. That's great. Thanks.
I mean, there's enough games that like
I'll play the shitty ones at some point.
Yeah, because I was thinking about like one of the cool things is going back and finding all those like whether it be survival horror games or even like RPGs or all those other genres that you like at the time period, and then trying to find all the ones you never got around to playing because you know how it was like. Just like anything, as a kid, you only got money for so many games, and you pick and choose what you think's going to be best. Doesn't always make it out to be the best choice, but
yeah.
And you end up there's games that just kind of go by the wayside, and that's why I almost feel like this podcast is kind of fun too. It's just to go like, hey, there is some of these games out there that like let's go play these ones. There's like here's these other survival horror games or like so on that like just got kind of you just never got around to. Maybe you always wanted to play it, but money was always a factor. Especially kind of like there was ROMs at that time period, but they didn't have ROMs of PlayStation games and so on. You only had like Game Boy and Super Nintendo and Genesis and regular Nintendo maybe. But I remember like N64 was a big deal because it's like we're trying to get the Legend of Zelda to work, but we only got like a test copy so far, and it kind of doesn't really work so well. So try it out on your Windows 98 PC, but it's probably not going to work the whole way. And lo and behold, you can emulate every 64 game now.
This conversation is making me feel old.
I know, it really is. Think of like those old and it's weird because like I can go back to these games and to me they never feel old. They always like a lot of PlayStation games to me hold up super well. Where I know other people will tell me the other way around, but it's weird how it sort of is. I mean, granted, I think it's nostalgia kind of makes it hold up well.
Yeah, I mean, we can remember the first time we played it, which helps. I mean, I guess if I was born later, in like the late 90s instead.
Yeah.
You didn't start playing video games till like the mid 2000s or something like that, but
there's that.
God, you would be so spoiled.
Well, there's that, and there's also this is the other big difference. I just noticed, at least with us and our group of friends, retro gaming was such a big thing. You know what I mean? It's like whoever could grab more copies of like Atari games and like whatever ColecoVision and all that old stuff, like that made a difference. Where I just think nowadays, a lot of kids like they're like, oh, I got my PS4, but I'm not gonna go back to PS. Or maybe I went back to PS3, but I ain't going back to PS2 and 1.
They just don't really care, and if it doesn't come out on the PS4, then they just don't really care.
You know, I mean, granted, there's always been that one retro tech kid, but I just don't know if it's nearly as popular. It seemed like everybody we sort of knew like played some form of old games. It was not uncommon that you still were into something or another.
I mean, like, shit, look at our room setups, when we were little kids, Nintendos, Super Nintendos, 64s, PlayStations.
Yeah, like anything you could get your hands on, like...
Exactly. It didn't matter how old or how crappy it looked, it was still fun. Like, shit, I got that Atari, Atari
2600,
joystick. Yeah, and it's just... Dude, that thing's still a blast to play today, I think. So.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, those games are always still fun, even if there is some of those games where you go, boy, I'm glad I didn't spend $60 back on this in the 80s.
Yeah.
There's always, I remember, like, God, there's some of those systems, like, that, this is getting off top, but, like, the TurboGrafx 16, I remember going, me and Josh, who's been the Old Man Orange podcast before Josh Bullock, we're going through those, and it was just, like, there's so many games on there that all I thought about was, like, boy, I'm glad I did not spend $60 on this game. You know what I mean? It was one of those systems where, like, there was good games on there, but it was definitely like 75% of them were not classics. It was not let's say this, it was not a Nintendo or a Sega.
Yeah.
You totally had the third-party machine at that point. But yeah, no, there's just too many more good things to have, and we're not too sure what we're going to do next on here, but like we got all kinds of great survival horror games to go through, and I guess since it's like Halloween, somebody brought that up. They're like, dude, what a great time to put a podcast like this up. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't put two and two together.
We timed this subconsciously well, because I didn't even realize that we were starting up these podcasts like just before Halloween.
I was like, I guess because to me like horror runs 24/7 in my book.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's always a good time for survival horror.
Yeah, like I can never. It's like that genre is always one of my favorites, and it's just that. Especially, camera angles, pre-rendered backgrounds, tank controls, I'm there. You know what I mean?
I mean, dude, nowadays too, just with like Steam and everything, just the amount of horror games that come out.
Oh yeah, they got tons of those ones.
Freaking insane.
And I like that, like, finally people are starting to make, like, traditional style, like, old school, camera angles, pre-rendered backgrounds, and tank control games again, so it's just cool to see that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, Silent Hill 1, I always enjoy, always can go back to it.
So much fun.
It's always just such a cool story, great characters. You feel like you always learn something new in it. Like, there's always, like, that extra mystery that kind of makes more sense the more you play it. Even to this day and age. I know I've never played it nearly as much as Resident Evil.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, always a fresh, great experience.
Even now, going back, even if I knew what was coming, I feel like I would still be scared. That's how good Silent Hill is.
It is.
I would still be uneasy going into an area, even though I knew what I was going into.
There's always, it's kind of like that first boss you fight under the school, and it's got the big old chomper, mouth thing that can kill you in one hit. And there's something that tells you that. Like, you literally find a thing, and before you even know what that creature is, like up stairs in the school or something like that, I want to say it's like, the alligator monster. I don't know what they call it. Like, it's like some little kid wrote it down. Like, well, it could, its bite could kill you in one hit or something like that. I was like, what? What is this?
That's scary.
Yeah, I know. So there's just always that kind of fun stuff. But we'll pick a game for next time and figure out what's going on and have good old survival horror fun times ahead. And from that point on, check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, comics, music, and more. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm RJ.
And we'll see you some other time.